Today we're going to make our clay loom. The first thing we need to do is make sure that our clay slab is big enough to put our loom template on top and trace and cut it out. If it is not big enough, you may use a rolling pin to roll it out so that it's a little bit bigger. Now when you do this, make sure that when you roll, just roll maybe 2 times and then peel and flip your slab over, then roll 2 more times and peel and flip again. This flipping keeps your slab from sticking to your clay mat. Once your slab is the right size, place your template on top and use your cutting tool to very carefully trace around the template. I'm pushing the cutting tool all the way down through the clay into the black mat below it. I'm also holding the template with my opposite hand so that it doesn't wiggle around and mess up the shape. Now, once you have cut it, I'm going to very carefully peel away these extra pieces because I can use these nice flat pieces of clay to create my bottom shapes for my loom. So I'm going to set those off to the side. Now, before I start my extra shapes, I need to put the notches in my loom that will hold my thread. So, as you can see, in the bottom, at the very middle, there is a large notch we're going to cut out. So I'm just going to sort of line up my template and use my cutting tool to cut out a little tiny rectangle. Make sure that the clay actually comes out of your slab so that you have like a little hole shape right there. Now these don't have to be as big as the middle ones, so I'm just going to sort of line this up so I can space them out nicely. And I'm going to use this little loop tool to scoop out some little chunks of clay. So I'm just going to sort of line it up with the first notch and then use the loop to take out a little chunk. You have to make sure that the little chunks come out, otherwise you won't be able to get the thread to go down inside your loom later on. And the spacing doesn't have to be an exactly perfect measurement, but as long as you're getting it as close as you can to the template, then you should be fine. So I'm just going to keep on going, scooping out my little chunks of clay until my slab matches the template. Now I'm going to carefully write my name on my loom with my cutting tool. This time I'm not pressing through all the way, I'm just barely scratching the surface. Don't press too hard because you don't want your slab to get stuck to the mat. Now I can put this off to the side and I'm going to start working with my other slabs of clay to create the shapes that go at the bottom of my loom. Just like before, I'm going to place my templates on top, hold down with one hand, and trace around with my cutting tool. Don't forget to put your name on the backs of these pieces as well. If you don't have large enough scraps to create these shapes, and if your slab is getting a little skinny from rolling it out a whole lot, you can take your extra pieces and press them together into kind of a flat shape, making sure they're really pressed so there's no air bubbles. And then you can roll yourself out a new slab. Don't forget to do the flip technique so that your slab does not get stuck to the mat. Once your name is on both pieces, you can add details to the front if you want to. You could press in a face with your clay tools, or if you want to do a 3-dimensional face, don't forget to slip and score your pieces. So I'm going to scratch the back of the piece I'm going to stick on, scratch the area where it's going to go, add just one little finger dip of water, and then gently press the 2 scratched areas together. Once you've finished your details and you've done just a little bit of smoothing with just a teeny tiny little bit of water around your edges, then we can leave our pieces to dry. Make sure that you don't use too much water when you're smoothing so that your clay doesn't get too soggy.